everyone. I'm Lisa Parenteau, and I'd like to welcome you to Lifting Others as We Rise, the podcast where we dive into the world of real estate and the power of positive thinking. In each episode, we're going to bring you inspiring conversations with real estate professionals and other thought leaders who have really harnessed the power of lifting others up along their journeys. So let's get ready to elevate our mindset. Lifting Others as We Rise podcast, where inspiration is a catalyst for action. Let's go. Welcome to Lifting Others as We Rise podcast. I am your host, Lisa Parenteau, Realtor, team leader, CRS, broker associate, but most importantly, Glamma to Eloise Ann, who is 4 going on 17. Here on beautiful Cape Cod in Massachusetts. And I'm thrilled to welcome you to today's episode. I know you're going to enjoy it. I can't wait to dig in to learn a little bit more about Madison. So get comfy, settle in, whether you're at the gym, have a cup of tea, coffee, some kind of a beverage, or if you're driving. My intention, as always, is to discover and uncover inspiration and catalysts for change in the stories of real estate leaders across the country. And today, my very special guest is Madison Gorgone. Gorgone or Gorgone? I didn't get a chance to ask you.
Gorgone.
Gorgone. All right. Madison Gorgone. Yeah. Welcome, welcome. So Madison is a top producing realtor in the it's Los Angeles, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've never heard of Diamond Bar. I knew it was Diamond something. I'm interested to hear like what Diamond Bar is and why it's called Diamond Bar, but you are a realtor there in Diamond Bar. And I know you've been a RE/MAX agent for a while there, but I also, in learning a little bit about you, have seen that you've been a brand ambassador for a number of things, including Bulletproof, which I did back in the day when it first started. And we were all saying, why are we putting butter in our coffee? But I'd love to kind of find out about that. But you have been really someone who seems to be loving, engaging with, and selling in a way with something that you feel very excited about. And it had been being a brand ambassador for a number of products and then found yourself here in real estate. So it looks like an amazing career. Can't wait to hear more about the twists and turns that have brought you there. But most of all, thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy day to come and join me on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I love hearing real estate journeys and stories because a lot of us don't choose real estate right off the bat. At least that's my story. So it's kind of fun to hear how our backgrounds evolved and how we ended up here. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the honor. Yeah, and excited to chat with you.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about when you got out of school and what were some of those influences? What were some of the sparkly things that you saw that led you into some of those first career choices?
So in high school, I always wanted to be an event planner. That was my passion. I knew very young I wanted to be in the hustle bustle career, something that kept me on my toes, something that was exciting. And I did a lot of volunteer work for events. So I just naturally figured out that I liked it. So when I went to college, I went to Cal State Fullerton. It's in Orange County here in SoCal. And I studied communications with an entertainment and tourism degree. So that's what I got my degree in. I did a ton of internships, volunteer work, lots of different jobs, just exploring the grand scheme of events because you can do weddings, you can do promotional events, you can do event sales, or there's just so much there. So I really took the time to explore. And what I found is that I definitely love the busyness and high stress environment of special events or event planning, event coordinating, all of it. And I really dabbled into a lot. And then when I actually moved to LA, downtown LA, and I was trying to find a job out there, I got into brand ambassador work, like you mentioned. So a lot of event promos and trade shows and marketing events, just a ton of that. And it opened up my eyes to marketing and sales and how much I loved that side of things. So yeah, I always want, and the cool part about real estate is now I get to use my background in events by doing community events. I host local hiking events or yoga. So I kind of use a little bit of my past and my experience into my real estate career now, which is super fun.
And really combining some of that. Tell me a little bit about Bulletproof. Did you guys meet with Dave Asprey? How did that whole thing with that come about? Was it something that you were interested in? Was there some element of that really drew you in, or, what brought you there?
So everyone that knows me knows that I'm a huge coffee drinker. I've been drinking coffee since college. Mostly that's where my addiction came in. I was doing a lot of late nights, as a lot of students do. And so I slowly began to wean off of cream and sugar because I was drinking a lot of it and I didn't want the unhealthy habit of that. So I eventually got down to black coffee, which is how I drink my coffee to this day. I absolutely love the taste, and I know a good bean from a bad bean just by drinking so much. So I was doing a lot of brand ambassador work with other companies because sometimes you can do contracted work. And I was recruited by one of their reps, I think in the area of LA. It's kind of how I got connected with them originally. And immediately I wanted to jump all over it, not necessarily because of the butter, but because of the coffee.
The
And they
MCT.
had just, yeah, the MCT oil. And it was an amazing opportunity for me to learn more about MCT, the way caffeine affects us, and all the science behind it. And Dave Asprey was so cool. I never met him personally, but just the whole brand and how health and wellness they are, like they focus on that. And so it was really educational for me. And I learned a ton more about coffee also because of that. So I was drinking they just had come out with the iced coffees, the butter iced coffee in the little boxes. So people were like, what is this? And it was so cool just educating myself and learning how to share with the community all about this new thing. And it really helped me a lot. Actually, it helped my crash. It helped a ton of things. So it was cool.
It's like the old school influencer, right? Like what the people do now as influencers. It was done that was like the brick and mortar influencers. I think you were ahead of your time. Maybe you can still do some of that work now, but I mean, I don't know. It's a whole huge, it's not even a cottage industry anymore. It's a whole like gigantic industry, influencer world now. But that was the brand ambassadors back in those days. That was the brick and mortar influencers, of which you were clearly one. I can see that. And I love the fact that it was one of those addictions that many of us have, but a hugely healthy spin on that. And Dave Asprey to this day is continuing to break a lot of models that have to do with health and believing that we are a certain way and then realizing that if we push in different directions, we actually can surpass so many of those boundaries that we set for ourselves, for sure. So, brand ambassador for coffee with butter to real estate. So, tell me, what was the pivotal moment there when you said, hey, let me not do this and go sell some houses?
Yeah, I know, completely different
Yeah.
industries and a big jump. So at the time when I was living in LA, my roommate, who was a good friend of mine, she was a title rep. And I can't emphasize enough that I was the greenest as it comes when it comes to real estate. I didn't even know what title was. I, at the time, had no interest in buying any property. I was just going to rent forever. And I didn't know what escrow was. I didn't know anything. So she would always tell me, because I was very social, she would always tell me, hey, you should try real estate because the brand ambassador work is great and fun and it gave me a lot of skill, but it doesn't necessarily make the most money that I can survive on, especially in LA or anywhere really in California. So that's kind of what I was trying to figure out my career choice of like, what am I going to do that's going to be good income and I love? And so she recommended, to try real estate. And I was like, I have no desire to have a billboard of my face or have people sit on my face like at a bench. Like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, and I know it sounds funny, but I'm not making this up. These are like real conversations. But it was funny because LA wasn't really working out for me. So again, I took a step back and I said, what am I going to do? I moved back home, and my hometown is Chino Hills, which is right next to Diamond Bar, very suburban city. And I grew up there. My parents still live there now. So I moved back home for a little bit because I obviously didn't own a property. And I talked to my parents and I was just brainstorming with them. So lo and behold, right next door to them was my brokers, who they're my brokers now, Jeanette and Christian Fuentes. And I had no idea what a broker was either. So I'm like, what does that mean? I think my mom was like, I think they have an office. I don't know. Turns out they're a huge brokerage in our area. They've been killing it forever. Amazing people to learn from. So I go to work for them. I was talking to my neighbor, Christian, who's the owner of the company. And I was telling him, I really want to get into real estate, but I don't know where to start. And he said, well, come work for us at the front desk and give it a try and see what you think. And that's literally where it took off. I had no idea I would be the biggest nerd about real estate, that I had a passion for it. But it just really, God kind of set the stars in a line for me. And that's how I started.
So if you think back on that time, you had neighbors and you realize, oh my God, they actually own like a huge brokerage. There's lots of folks that are going there. Who served as a mentor to you then that gave you the confidence to think, you know what, I can do this. Maybe I can do this.
it was my broker owners, Christian and Jeanette. When I started at the front desk, I was mostly working with Jeanette at the time, and so she was very empowering, especially as a woman, a lot of women empowerment and support. And then it was a collectively people in the office, a lot of the agents that I spoke with on a daily basis because I'm at the front desk, I'm the gatekeeper and I'm customer service, all those things for the agents as well as any guests that come in. And I took that position because it was a pay cut and all that, but I didn't really care about that. I really wanted to start from the environment and see. So I used that opportunity to be a sponge. And since I'm talkative already, it kind of worked out because agents apparently like to talk. That's one of our best assets. So, anyways, I talked to a lot of the agents on a day to day basis. And again, agents love to talk and vent. So they would vent to me about the transactions and things happening, and I would see some stuff happening. So I was like a fly on the wall, which was the greatest experience I could ask for, which I didn't realize at the time. So it wasn't just my brokers, but it was essentially the culture of the office and the people that I was in contact with on a day-to-day basis that really, really empowered me because right when I started, I was telling everybody I'm going to get my license and I want to be you guys, I want to be an agent. And so since I was saying that all the time, people were so encouraging. They were like, hey, this is what I did. They were willing to share. So I would say it was kind of like that saying when it takes a village. So my support system and my overall mentorship was a village, really.
And I have to tell you, I hope you understand that is not always the typical way that offices go. One of the reasons I came to where I am today is because of the culture of collaboration and the culture of generosity and the culture of abundance. I did not always find that. But I think if you were leading with that as well, if you were that person at the front desk willing to do anything to help out and acting as a sponge and not like, oh, I want to do it this way, I'm going to do this, that if you were in a very different space, that it sounds like people really responded to that and kind of wanted to help you along and encourage you. And that's amazing. And I think you have to congratulate yourself because it sounds like the energy you were putting out as well, right?
Yes.
And
I
that
think it definitely, people saw the passion. If I was just kind of hanging back and like, oh, well, I hope this works out, it's a different energy. And I was just, like you said, very hungry, willing to do anything. And I was willing to support agents and pick their brain and do whatever I could to help. I noticed through this experience that people really respond to that and they're willing to help you along because I wouldn't be where I'm at without the support of my village.
That's amazing. That's a wonderful thing to
Yeah.
say. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing to say. So, what was a challenge that you experienced earlier, maybe in those brand ambassador days or when you were thinking about where you were going? What was the challenge that you had earlier that gave you some valuable skills that you find are really great that you if you hadn't been through those challenges, what was the challenge? If you hadn't been through that challenge, you wouldn't have the skills that you have today. And maybe not necessarily real estate, but maybe it's real estate related.
I would say confidence building. I wasn't the most confident before those positions in brand ambassador work or events. I remember I was a wedding coordinator for a little while, which I loved, but didn't love the company so much, so I wasn't there long. But I would be in front of a crowd of 15, sometimes 20 family members and the bride and groom going over the plan for rehearsal, the day of the wedding. And I remember thinking in those moments, like, holy shoot, I can't believe like everyone's staring at me. At the time, I was not confident enough to public speak at all. But then it starts changing in your mind where your position in that moment is very important. Like people are looking to you for support and guidance, and you really have to step up and guide them. So through that and in brand ambassador work, I had to talk to people because even if I didn't have a quota, let's say, because not all the positions required that, you still have to document all your numbers. So if you're reporting zeros on everything, they're gonna be like, what the heck are you doing for 48 hours? Like, are you just standing there smiling or like on your phone? You have to perform. So I learned the value of getting out of my comfort shell, developing confidence because my position does matter no matter what position I'm in. And also realizing that I need to utilize the time that I'm working or on the clock to make something happen for the company. So I was learning skills on how to represent other brands and other companies and sell for them. But really, in turn, it taught me how to brand myself, sell my own services, my own brand, and really advocate. Because if I'm advocating this hard for someone else, why couldn't I do it for myself?
That's amazing. I want to say at your age, I don't want to be insulting when I say that, but having the self-awareness that because I was selling somebody else's dream for a lot of my career, a lot of my career. I was working to develop and sell somebody else's dream. And it took me a long time to realize that, that I didn't have to do that anymore. Somebody who was very politically active that had nothing to do with the business that we were in. And he called me from jail like one last time because they'd been arrested at a protest. And I thought, what am I doing? I cannot go on with this, but not that it has to be that dramatic, but you sound like you realized early on that the skill set that you needed to be able to represent that brand, well, you need to develop that skill set yourself to represent yourself and your brand will change over time. I'm sure it will refine. It may go into more of a niche, but you still have that awareness that's always on you. No one else is going to be most likely doing that. You have to develop that confidence in yourself. And it sounds a little bit like fake it till you make it too. I mean, some of us
Yeah.
have to do that, right? That's a piece of
Yeah.
it. We are not born with confidence. And even if we have a lot of confidence about some things, I'm quite confident about many, many things, but I still get imposter syndrome about certain things. I still have things come up. I have a thing in August. I'm already preparing for it. It's like it's June. I mean, and it's 10 minutes on stage, and I'm already like, because it's a big stage, right? But yeah, we all get that. But you have to fake it until you make it. And it's pushing through that fear, not letting that sideline you. You took that job, you said you took a pay cut for that job, but you knew you could learn and that you were probably meant for more than that. And
Yeah.
how exciting that those brokers saw that in you.
Yeah, I always say it's more about the long game. So if you're looking for a quick turnover, quick transaction, I don't feel like real estate's really for you because yes, you can get lucky sometimes or whatever you want to call it and do that quick transaction. But really what I've noticed, I mean, I'm 6 years in the business now, so not as long as others, but long enough to see what's
Long
going
enough.
on and yeah, and get the hang of it. And I've noticed that people that, like won't close really fast or they give up or if they want a quick turnaround, if you're built for longevity you really have to do the groundwork and there's like other skills that so that's for me. I didn't mind taking a little pay cut because it's almost like not even taking a step backwards. I don't like to call it that, but it's about investing. So I was investing more my time than actually receiving money for my time. Does that make sense? So I was giving time while getting a little pay, but in the grand scheme of everything it was worth it. That's what I was investing. And if you don't see the investment or the value, then you might not really want to be in it for the long haul because real estate is a long haul and it's so much work. But if you really take it serious, you have to do some of these little things like free work or less paid work, but it pays off in the end.
Or volunteering. I'm
Yes.
like a serial volunteer for our association. But in the end, and I didn't realize that was going to be one of the outcomes, but because I live in a resort and second home community, I get referrals from people across the country because I've met them in my volunteer roles. And everybody knows I live on beautiful Cape Cod, and that's where I live, and that's where I sell. And I've been here for a long time. I'm a luxury ambassador for my brand. And so that volunteering has given me the outcome. So the same thing as you said when you were working so hard in that office and continue to grow and serve in that community, that it has really come back to serve you. I just love that. I really do. It's an investment in yourself. And people don't always recognize that, the importance of that.
Right. They don't always understand what investment is. It's not always about money, time, volunteering. It kind of comes around full circle. So yeah, it's very important to be more aware of that.
So, what was a surprising moment, when you were going through things that you learned in this past 6 years in the office or maybe outside? I know one thing we share in common is a love for our yoga practice. How has your yoga community, that actually some of my first leads ever when I first started in the business back again in 15 came from my yoga community because they knew me, they saw me all the time, and they were like, oh my gosh, you sell real estate? Okay, sure, let's do. How has not necessarily it fed into your career, but how has your yoga practice been a shaper of your journey as well? I'd love to hear about that.
Definitely. To your question, that's been one of the biggest surprises for me is that I could have the best of both worlds in some way. And it's not all rainbows and butterflies because it comes at a cost with what I'm about to say, but I can mesh my personal and business together. So there's not really a work-life balance for me, but it's because work and life go hand in hand. Because of yoga is a perfect example. like what happened with you. Some of my leads come from yoga. So they see me all the time. Then they see me on social media. Then again, if they need to sell or buy a house or rent something, I am a resource for people. So has been very cool because they're people that I already know and they know me and I already trust them and they trust me also. So I genuinely want to help the people that I love and care about. So my yoga practice, one, has helped me de-stress and manage the lifestyle of real estate. That's probably number one, the biggest asset that yoga is for me. But I've been practicing for about 9 years now. So it started way before real estate, but I can honestly, and I talk about this because I just got my yoga teacher training certification back in November. So I went to Bali. I was gone for 6 weeks and
Nice.
did that there. Yeah, it was a truly incredible experience. If anyone has any questions about that, I'm happy to share. And I was just thinking, like, how am I going to leave my business for 6 weeks? Like, how is that even possible? It worked out. I still have a job even after, and it was an incredible experience. So I figured it out. But yeah, it gives me the confidence and the peace that I need to be able to manage the stress of the business, but also create a community because now I teach an outdoor sunset yoga class once a week. That's all I can commit to right now because real estate's still my number one. But I love creating community. That's something that I'm naturally good at, or I put a lot of work into it. I lead a hiking group. And so now I do the yoga as well. And it's been awesome because I can kind of plug in real estate, but it's not really like, hey, guys, by the way, use me as your realtor. It's just, I mention it and I talk about how yoga has impacted my life with work and stress and all those things. So it's not that I'm just talking about it, I'm actually living it, breathing it, and showing it. And people just naturally can learn about it if they want to or notice it from me living that. And because I can't fake, I can't be something I'm not. I've tried it before and it really does not work out for me. So that's where I'm blending in my own passions, which yoga, like you, is a huge one. I'm blending yoga into my business and some of my social media posts. Like I've done a video, a reel before where I'm in a headstand talking upside down and just having fun with it. So it keeps me flexible, no pun intended, with my real estate career and just lets me have fun with marketing too.
That would be funny on a house tour. I mean, or at least when they open the door and you're upside down and, welcoming them to the house. That's kind of funny. I mean, you could do that for like, hi, it's me again. This is 123 Main Street. Hi, it's me again. That's kind of funny. I love
Yeah,
it.
I always use the joke like, oh, are you feeling upside down? Well, let me help you feel right side up.
Yeah.
It's very silly, but it's
Put
fun.
yourself on a postcard. Yeah, if we can't laugh. But I think also you will agree that yoga works from the inside out, right? So when that's a big
Yes.
piece of who you are, that comes through. It comes through in the way that you speak. It comes through in the way that you walk in the world. It comes through the fact that you put the shopping cart back in the shopping cart thing instead of like leaving it in the middle of the parking lot at the food store. Like it's everything, right? It's all just part of a whole. And that can inform the way that we work with buyers and sellers and investors. It's big stuff. I mean, this is big stuff. This is not like buying a coat or a car or anything like that. These are people's life savings many times and their dreams and places where they had babies and what's both joyful and bittersweet, depending on where the transaction piece is. But
Mhm.
when you feel so grounded from the inside, it can add that. I think that your clients can probably feel from you. And what a gift that is. What a gift to be able to offer people some certainty and some grace when they're so, it's tough. Selling or buying a house, it's tough on a good day, right? It just is. It's tough on a good day. And many of us thrive on the gravitas of it, how important it is. But for me, being able to give them a sense of certainty and calm that, hey, don't worry about it. Hey, this happens all the time, even if it doesn't. But I'm like, don't even worry about,
Mhm.
that's what we can do. And I don't think I'd have that if I didn't have my practice. I just don't. Yeah. And yeah, so it's nice to hear you speak about that. And I'm really excited that you're offering a class every week. And I'm sure wear that shirt, This Girl Sells Real Estate. That's what we do. Wear that to
Yep.
yoga or just at least when you get in there over your yoga clothes or whatever. And yeah, I think that's going to make your business go a long way. And your big heart really shines through. It really does. The joy that you have for what you do and how you do it is quite beautiful. So I really have enjoyed this short time we've had together. Madison, if I can help out in any way in the future, please let me know. We will promote your everything that you're doing, including your yoga class if you'd like. when we finish our show notes. But again, it's been really wonderful and very inspiring to speak with you today. You brought up some really great things about how it takes a village and that the energy that you put out will be many times the energy you get back. And that's quite beautiful. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure talking to another fellow yogi who also loves the practice so much and loves real estate too. So I'm happy to connect with you today. So thank you for having me. It was a
Oh,
true honor.
it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on another amazing episode of Lifting Others as We Rise. My special guest, Madison, was just an absolute joy to have a conversation with. Her passion and her authenticity and her joy for kind of feeling out where she is in her career and her life was just really beautiful. And I love the fact that we talked about how yoga has continued to help her ground herself, but also to build community. I hope you'll calendar some time to consider some of the things that I pulled out of today's episode. One of them was, how can you build community, whatever that shows up with for you? Is it a hobby? Is it cooking? Is it yoga? Is it gardening? Is it hiking? Is there some piece of your life that you love that you could lean into a little more and build some community and also have that act as a springboard into your real estate career, and have it be doing that with something that you get a lot of joy from. I think that was the biggest piece that I took from Madison's podcast. Where can we find somewhere that we have some joy, and how can we build some community around that? So if you enjoyed today's episode, I would love it if you would subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Also, tell me how you are doing that. Is there a community that you're already part of that has really been a mirror for your joy and for growing in your career? Until the next episode, please keep the positivity flowing. And remember, when we make an effort to lift others up with intention, we all rise together. This is Lisa Parenteau signing off from Lifting Others as We Rise. Take good care. Thank you for joining us on another amazing episode of Lifting Others as We Rise. I hope you make sure to follow through on today's Catalyst for Change. If you enjoyed today's insights, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. You know your feedback really does matter. Stay connected for more uplifting conversations, because remember, when we lift others up, we all rise together. So until the next episode, keep the positivity flowing and keep lifting up others around you. This is Lisa Parenteau signing off from Lifting Others as We Rise. Take good care.